All right, welcome back. Now we're going to go look at the second part of the QA testing process, and that's all around self-healing test scripts. 80 to 90% of QA effort in a development shop is typically focused on fixing test scripts because something in the UI or something in the application changed. And so we're going to dive into how we can use AI agents to eliminate a substantial amount of that work. Let's dive right in. We'll jump into the self-healing test scripts. The first thing you see here is that we're going to configure the self-healing framework. And what that means is that there are a whole series of elements that we can use around AI-powered intelligence, as well as monitoring those tests in real time, and then being able to adapt them dynamically. We can also configure our own healing rules as we see fit. But what we're going to do is just let the default ones go. And now we've got a configured self-healing framework ready to go. And then the first step is go into our repositories where all our test scripts sit, and we pull that in. If they're already in the context, then we don't need this step. But in case you have these test scripts strewn about other areas of the organization and you want to apply the self-healing capability, you can ingest them into the context lakehouse. And now you see here, we've got a whole series of test scripts, as well as a clear analysis of what are all the different types of frameworks that we have, as well as the different languages we have to deal with, and the types of tests we're looking at. So the first thing to do is now go in and look at what are the failure patterns that we see in these test scripts versus when they were initially instantiated. And so we start the pattern analysis, and it's going to go through step by step and analyze every single test script and look at what patterns we see across the test scripts in terms of where the failure patterns are emerging. And you'll see as it goes through the code, it's going to start identifying a whole host of different patterns. Mostly they're probably element locator failures where a button has been moved or a field has been moved, but there could be a variety of other types of issues that the AI discovers. So it's gone through all those test scripts and identified 20 different patterns. 6 of them are high priority patterns, meaning that they occur over and over again. And you'll see here what they are. So element locator failures, timing issues, and there's a clear, detailed explanation of why it looks like these are patterns, what the common examples are, as well as what the suggested strategy is for healing these things. And it tells you which scripts these exist in. And so the first thing we do is based on those patterns, which you'll see here on the right-hand side, as well as the rule generation process that we have laid out, we're going to go ahead and generate healing rules. So as we go through, it's going to automatically take the rule patterns and the failure patterns and generate a series of rules for each of the patterns. And you'll see here, we've now generated the rules for all 20 patterns. And we've got here, for example, we've got the smart element locator agent, which is now going to be able to go through and based on these trigger conditions, actually try different methods to automate the healing of the scripts. And you'll see here, we've got that for all 20 failure patterns. And now what we can do is we can actually take those agents and we can deploy them into our platform for doing the self-healing. And you'll see here, we've got all of these agents now ready to go across different areas, and we're covering all 20 with, looks like at this point, 8 agents. So 8 agents are going to execute the 20 different healing rules that we've identified. And now we go through and we deploy those agents. So now those agents are becoming active step by step in the process. And as it goes through, we now see that the agents have deployed successfully, and they're deployed across 3 different environments. And now what we do is we can watch them do their work. So on the left, we've got here set up real-time monitoring. So that is going to go look at the tests that are being executed, see which ones are failing, see which ones are succeeding, and where there's a failure, it's going to alert. And then on the right-hand side here, we're going to see the automatic test optimization that's happening over time. And so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and launch the monitoring, and the monitors go deploy, and then the algorithm starts to configure the scripts. And so you'll see here that we're going to start going through and running the tests. It starts out at a very low success rate because the number of tests that are being executed versus the number of errors that it's finding are lower. You'll see here that it starts at a very low number of tests and a low success rate because the ratio of auto heals to the number of tests that are being monitored and the number of errors we're finding is low. But then as it increases, we'll see this 3.7, 3.1 number start climbing upward to 95%, 100% ranges. So let's pause for a second, let it do its thing, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, we're back. So now let's go look at what the results are that we're starting to see. And what we start seeing as the numbers go up in terms of the tests that got executed, the number of healing actions that were taken, is we're starting to get up in the 99, 98% success rate in terms of auto healing. The system is getting smarter, it's realizing where the changes are, and it's starting to draw out all the different trends. It's starting to lay out which failure patterns are actually increasing or decreasing over time. And then it's looking at the adaptations and where the adaptations are coming from, as well as all the different live events that are happening as we go through this process. So you're able to monitor all of this on a continuous basis and make judgment calls around, are we looking at failure patterns that are increasing? So we're looking at API changes. We've actually got increasing failure patterns, which means that there is some disconnect between how the API changes translate to the application changes, translate to the testing strategy changes. So we need to improve the connection there. So a variety of different insights that you'll get out of this process. So let's wrap up there, and we will see you in the next video.